Hello everyone! A kind person recently gave me this treasure. These are ion 12 gas discharge indicators. These are the most beautiful indicators that will always be in style. Of course, their size isn't as impressive as these beauties, but they also don't cost as much as the huge ion 18S. I have a whole box of these indicators and they are brand new. What would come to your mind when you see such indicators? Exactly. To make a clock with them, and today we won't be making them. Yet, you heard right. I will be assembling a clock with them, but not today. And no, it won't be the popular Guyver project. A big hello to him. Guyver is more of an Arduino person, while I'm more old school and analog, I guess. That's why I intend to make the clock without microcontrollers. For all this, first I need to prepare and think everything through. And that's why today we will make a tester for these indicators, which will allow us to fully test them. And not just them. Yes, friends, I know such indicators can be tested in no time. You just need to apply plus 180 volts to the anode and run the ground across the cathodes. So, it's tested almost like a regular 7-segment display, except that the supply voltage here is much higher. Where can you get 180 volts DC? Well, for example, a cheap Chinese DC-DC converter will quite allow you to test the lamps. Or if you happen to have a lab power supply like this one lying around, which is stabilized for both current and voltage, and can output from 0 to 600 volts at a current from 0 to 5 amps, and yes, it's a full 3 kilowatts, then you can use it. Why not? Regarding the testing of gas discharge tubes, I think everything is clear. It's a fairly simple task, but having a separate tester for checking these lamps is quite handy for the following reasons. Firstly, you can conduct long-term resource tests. Secondly, you don't need to poke at all the lamp's terminals every time. Just insert it into the panel, check it, remove it, and put in another one. It's also convenient in terms of versatility. The tester allows you to, firstly, adjust the supply voltage, which is useful for various experiments. Secondly, there's the ability to adjust the symbol switching frequency. I don't know why, but I decided it would be useful. And after all, it's more interesting than checking manually. In general, the tester is needed to avoid this. All the lamps are soldered in permanently, and one doesn't work. The circuit with the printed circuit board was created in one evening. Some components on the board and in the schematic may differ from each other. It will work, either way. Don't pay attention to my ugly board with poorly soldered components. All of this was soldered in literally an hour or an hour and a half. Regarding the schematic, I didn't invent anything and use classic solutions for such tasks. We have a high voltage source which is needed to power the indicator. The source outputs a constant 180 volts with adjustable capability. This is managed by a trimmer. This source is voltage stabilized, so everything is good. It's built on a current mode PWM controller UC3843 and equipped with protection for the power transistor. This transistor is not critical at all. It can handle from 2 amps with a drain source voltage of up to 400 volts. I used the first MOSFET I had on hand, rated for 5 amps and 600 volts. It's overkill, so I used the less powerful one in the circuit. In fact, it's a regular DC-DC boost converter without galvanic isolation. Its output voltage is supplied to the anode of the ion 12 indicator. Sequential switching of the cathodes is provided by high-voltage bipolar transistors MJE13001. That's what I drew in the schematic. But in reality, I have 13,003s installed, and that's because I have a bunch of various boards from LDS ballasts and electronic transformers. And there, the 003S were exactly what was used. In general, I used them because they were available. And yes, I'm well aware of chips like the ID one, I just didn't have it or any equivalents, so I used transistors instead. FIP, a little about the ID chips. I have this wonderful stopwatch counter with huge ion 18 tubes, and it has 3 channels. And those distant chips are exactly the ones we need. There are 3 of them. But I wouldn't have disassembled all of this. For the project anyway, because this thing is very interesting on its own, and I plan to restore it. one bulb is missing here. These switches, in turn, are controlled by a decimal counter decoder in the form of the CD4017 chip. It counts the number of pulses coming to its input and sequentially switches the outputs. That is, the one first appears on the first output, then on the second, and so on. Essentially, this one or high level unlocks the 13,001 switches, and as a result, the numbers on our display change. The pulses to the counter's input come from the NE555 chip. It is used here as a pulse generator. With this trimmer, we can change the frequency of these pulses, and consequently, the speed at which the numbers switch on the display. This display also has a dot that our tester won't check, but you can short the specified leads on the printed circuit board, and then the dot will light up. The dot, by the way, can be left on all the time, under development, board, because it's one of those things that depends on your mood. And overall, for the layout of some tester board, there's no point in trying too hard. In general, there's nothing to say about the board, except that I use foil-clad fiberglass with a thickness of 0.8 millimeters, which is half as thick as usual. This is not really necessary information for you, but I mentioned it to avoid questions. Pay attention to the fact that here, there are quite a few jumpers, and the white areas in theory are sections that need to be milled, since in these places the voltage is quite high, and an air gap wouldn't hurt spark breakdown and all that. But who am I kidding? No one will bother with this. There won't be any if there are fees. And no, there won't be any ads, for you know which company here. That manufactures printed circuit boards. So let's move on. Basically, I printed the board like in the old days, etched it, soldered it, and everything. Worked on the first try. A properly assembled circuit doesn't need any adjustments, except you might need to set the desired switching frequency with one of the trimmers, and with the other, the voltage of about 180 volts at the converter's output. This voltage, by the way, is adjustable in the range from 150 to 200 volts. After assembling and starting it up, I realized that I don't have a socket for these indicators. Luckily, there's a 3D printer and some great folks who share models on a popular site. I quickly downloaded and printed it. Next, I need to find a suitable connector, pull out the pins from it, insert them into our socket, and for reliability, generously cover everything with hot glue. How could we do without it? And finally, this bunch of wires needs to be correctly connected to the board. I forgot to mention that this whole strange thing consumes a very small current only, 30 milliamps without the indicator installed, and up to 80 milliamps with the indicator. Additionally, I added diode protection against reverse polarity at the input. Considering the low current consumption, the solution with the diode is justified. There's no need to invent anything. The exciting moment has come. We take out the box with Soviet 14 tubes, or rather with ion 14s. Here, they are our beauties. Now we're going to test you. I managed to test about 10 of them, and then I realized that this is taking a long time. And it's not about the tester. It's just, you want to look at this beauty forever. That's really like watching a fire. I have gas discharge indicators, but in theory they are more or less the same. The anode voltage can vary, but this tester has an adjustment. With the right panel you can test other similar ones as well. Indicators. I think that's all. Those who want to replicate this tester will get an archive with the schematic and PCB in the description. Video will find the project archive with the circuit and printed circuit board. Don't forget to rate the video, and if you have time you can check out my other YouTube channels, where videos are uploaded much more frequently than on this one. In general, all the necessary links are in the description. And with that, I say goodbye. As always, this was Kazyanov Ka, with you, and until we meet again. Bye.